get you guys, we're going to be talking about seller financing. So grab your pens and grab your papers and let's get ready to start. Today, we are going to be talking about seller financing and how you can have the seller become your bank. Got it? Good, good. I had a lawyer who used to say that all the time. Good, 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 good. He was a good lawyer too. He was cool. But today, seller financing is what we're talking about. So I want you guys to take this. I want you guys to take it with a grain of salt. We're about to be out here in these streets, seller financing, talking about it, being about it, and doing everything you got to do to get to it. So without further ado, we're going to get started in a minute. I have to share this because, like I told you guys before, my system that I use no longer allows me to share to my Facebook group, which is so crazy. Doesn't allow me to share to my Facebook group. So I have to share it myself. And so that's what I'm doing. All right. Now, today we're going to be talking about seller financing. Seller financing is when you have the seller become your bank. So instead of going to Bank of America, Navy Federal, or whatever bank that you bank with, we're going to be talking about the seller will take the place of Navy Federal. What's some other ones? Navy Federal, Lima One, if you do hard money loans. They're all going to take the place of Bank of America, Wachovia, all those banks. That's what we're doing today. So for all of you who are now ready to get into creative financing strategies, we're going to be talking about it. So without further ado, let's get started, because guess what? It's a lot to cover in such a short period of time. That's one thing I can tell y'all. It's a lot to cover in short periods. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Robinson. I am your favorite real estate diva out here in these real estate streets. And there are others that do what I do, but there are none that do it like I do. So I've been real estate investor now for 26 years. I've done retail. I am a real estate broker. I have my real estate license, so to speak. So for those of you who wonder if you got licensed, yes, I am licensed. I'm a licensed broker. And I have agents that work for my brokerage. So we are not just out here in the streets talking crazy. I'm out here living and doing exactly what I'm telling you guys to live and do. All right. So we specialize in creative financing strategies to build a portfolio. So that's what I've been teaching you guys. Last week, we did wholesaling. And I went over who does what in wholesaling. Today, we're going to do seller financing. And I'm going to tell you who does what in seller financing. Then tomorrow, because I am going to come back, tomorrow we will talk about lease options, because that's another one that people don't realize they can do. And then Friday, we're going to talk about either Airbnb or tax deeds, tax lien. I'm going to let you guys decide by commenting what you guys want to see. All right, so that's how we're going to figure that one out. Now, for those, if you have questions, let's give you the rules of engagement. If you've been here before, thank you. This is your first time, don't let it be your last. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions whatsoever, something I say you don't understand, put it in the comments so that we can make sure so I can clarify it and you can understand it. Because the last thing I want is for you to walk away from a live stream of mine and not know what you're talking about when you get out into the world, in the streets, and doing all this extra stuff. Okay? So if you have a question, ask. If I say something you don't understand, ask. If I say something you didn't hear it, ask me to repeat it. We need to be sure that when you are out here in these real estate streets, you actually know what you're talking about. And that's the whole purpose of doing these little mini trainings that I've been planning across for the month of May. All right, so today is seller financing. This is how you're going to allow how your seller becomes your bank. So if you know somebody who's interested in this topic, share it. Share this video out with 5 of your friends and tell them to come on in and get this sauce, because we're about to get started. Now, if you see me looking crazy, We're still doing the rules of engagement. You see me over here looking crazy, that's because I'm on Instagram. You see me over here looking crazy, that's because I'm on YouTube and I am on Facebook. So hey y'all, hey. So that's where that comes from. Okay. Now, in the meantime and in between time, what we're going to do, I hope you have grabbed your papers. I hope you have your pens, your tablets with your pens, your whatever it is that you use to take notes. I hope you have it because we are getting ready to start. Okay. Now, I told you guys I do this for this seller financing has to be my favorite. Out of all of the creative financing strategies that I use, seller financing has to be my absolute favorite. And I'm going to give you a brief overview. Seller financing is when you cut out the middleman, and the middleman is the bank. Like last week, we talked about wholesaling. We said cut out the middleman. The middleman was basically not, you don't have to use a real estate investor to purchase a property. And so it's you, the seller, and the buyer. Today, we talk about, hey, ooh, excuse me. Excuse me. When we talk about it this time, seller financing, we're going to talk about how the seller becomes the bank, how you may not need a lot of money down. In some cases, you don't need any money down. Some cases, you can negotiate no interest payments. You don't need your credit. You don't need a lot of money, but you can own a house. Okay. So I said what I said, and I want you to understand I said it. So what we're going to do is get you ready for it. All right. I'm just pulling up my notes. So while you got your notebooks out, I'm going to get my notebooks out. For those of you on Instagram, if you want the replay of this, just subscribe to the channel right now. They got it for $2.49 for the first 5 people. And it's a monthly subscription. It's not even every week. I think it's a monthly subscription. And you can see all of this whole series. If you want the replay on Facebook or YouTube, because it will not be available after 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, DM me and I'll make sure you get a copy. Okay? All right. Now, what is some things that you should know? Some things, the reason why people do seller financing. The reason we're going to go over why people do it, what's the benefits of it, what is it, and a brief overview of how it works. And I'm also going to give you some reasons why it's important to do it, whether you have good credit or no credit or bad credit. Okay. Seller financing is a real estate agreement in which the seller handles the mortgage process and becomes your bank. So, y'all know my favorite lady, Miss Susie down the street, decides she wants to sell her house. Delisa says, Miss Susie, I'll buy your house. However, I don't have all the money for it. Would you mind me making monthly payments to you? She says, no, I don't mind you making those payments. You can make those payments. Me and Miss Susie agree. Once we agree, we're going to have a written agreement drawn up by an attorney. It's going to say who owns it, which will now be me. We're going to say how much of a down payment I'm doing, how much price she's charging me, and when do my payments start and when do my payments have to end? And if there's a balloon payment, how long before I have to make the balloon payment? So there's a lot of different entities that go into this. So let's start with the first one. The first one you're going to need is to know who's who. Who's who in seller financing? First of all, there's the buyer, which would be in this scenario with Miss Susie, me. I am the buyer. Okay. Who's going to become the seller? Miss Susie. She's also not only the seller, but she also becomes the bank. Now, Miss Susie's moving down to Tampa, Florida with her kids. She don't want this house, but she also has an opportunity to get some straight income without having to do repairs, pay taxes, pay maintenance fees, pay insurance on this property because she's going to deed the property over to me. Now, how is this different from buying a house traditionally? It's not. The only difference is there's not a strict approval process. So this is where we're going to be into it doesn't your credit may not be ran. You don't have to prove your income. You just have to abide by the terms of purchase. Okay? Your name will be added to this deed. Just like when you buy a property from a if you buy a property using a real estate agent and you have to go out and get a mortgage, your name is on the deed. Your name is on the mortgage. Same process with seller financing, only the seller becomes the bank. So Delise is going to agree to pay $100,000 to Miss Susie for this property. There's a purchase agreement that's going to have to be made. Say it again. That's the first thing you have to write up. Your attorney has to write up for you a purchase agreement. Okay. Second thing your attorney's going to have to write up for you is a mortgage agreement. Just like when you go to the bank and they have to write up that paperwork. And if you bought a house before, how many of you, if you've bought a house before, drop the number one in the chat. If you do, you have to write up the mortgage agreement. So the mortgage agreement is just like at the bank, it's a loan. There's a mortgage agreement, and then there's going to be a lien. A lien is going to be put on the property for the price of the mortgage, same as you would if you went to the bank. Like I said, all of this is the same as if you go to the bank. The only thing is you're going to not have a traditional bank. You're going to have it's an actual person. So in my scenario, Delise is going to buy 123 Main Street for $100,000 from Susie Jones, and I agree to give her $5,000 down. She agrees to 3% interest and a monthly payment, and she's going to hold it for 10 years. Now, that's going to all be in my agreement. My purchase agreement is going to say I agree to buy this property in as is condition for $100,000. I am putting $5,000 down as an earnest money deposit, EMD for all of you in the real estate world. Earnest money deposit, for those who don't know what that is the deposit you have to put down. Then now I owe $95,000. This $95,000 will be paid over, and this doesn't go on the purchase agreement. It's going to go on the mortgage agreement. Okay, so the purchase agreement is just that. It's given we've contracted and agreed to transfer this property from Miss Susie Jones to Miss Delisa Coffee. Okay, that's who we're putting this to. All right, so it goes from Miss Susie Jones to Delisa Coffee. And now, so Susie Jones agrees to sell 123 Main Street to Delisa Coffee for $100,000. She's going to put down a $5,000 EMD, and I might agree to pay all closing costs. That's going to be in my purchase agreement. My mortgage agreement is going to say I'm doing a mortgage loan for $95,000 for 10 years at an interest rate of 3%. Get what I'm saying now, guys? Everybody understands. If you don't understand, please, please, please don't hesitate to ask a question. So that's what we're doing with that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have, so now we have we got my purchase agreement, which everybody's familiar with the purchase agreement. That's just a contract to buy the house. Then we have a mortgage agreement. And with the mortgage agreement, you're going to put a loan. You're still going to have to get homeowners insurance unless you don't plan on staying in the house. If you plan on living in the house, you're going to get homeowners insurance. If you're not living in the house, then you're going to get landlord insurance. So that means you're going to rent it out. Y'all got that? Okay. So now we have the purchase agreement, the mortgage agreement. The mortgage agreement, here's the thing. When you decide to become the seller, you need to know the local laws for mortgages and mortgage holders, because you are required to send statements to the person that you are buying, that you are holding that mortgage for. So you can't just be out here in the street willy-nilly doing whatever. Why do you think Your bank sends you a statement every month for your mortgage. You know you owe it. They know you owe it. They send you a statement every month for your mortgage. And in some states, your car note has the company, the lender who has your car note has to send you a late notice every month because they used to give you that book. I'm dating myself here a little bit. They used to give you this book of coupons for your mortgage and a book of coupons for your car payment. Remember that? They used to give you this book and you used to just rip out and mail it in every month with a check. Well, how many of you don't write checks anymore? I have not written a check in forever. I pay all my bills online. Everything is added. I go in, click, 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 and the money just disappears from my account. So there's no more checks. So therefore, there's no need for that booklet that we used to get. So now, because there is no need for that booklet, banks have to go back to now sending you a monthly statement. Because before, when you had that booklet, you didn't get a monthly statement. Now you're getting a monthly statement. I know. I had my mortgage with M&T Bank, and they sent me a statement every month telling me, and that statement has to show how much you've paid, how much you owe, when is it due, and when is it late. There's a lot. So you can't just be around not doing what you're supposed to do. All right. Okay. I just want y'all to understand this process because it can be good, but it has to be greater. Okay. Now, why would a buyer or an investor use seller financing? Very simple. The pros and cons. We're going to go over the pros and cons of advising you about seller financing. Seller financing, there's no credit check. There's no interest payments. In some cases, you can negotiate no interest payments. There's low down payment or no down payment. I've done this before where I had no down payment, and I've done it where I had a minimum down payment. So, and it's a quick closing process. It doesn't take as long as it does with the bank because there's no appraisal, there's no inspections, there's none of that other stuff. All you have to do, sign your paperwork. And once the title is clear, you can close. All right. Lower closing costs. There's lower closing costs because you're not paying all the points and commissions to the bank. You're not paying for the bank's attorney. You're not paying for the bank's if the bank is remote and they send a signer, you're not paying for that. So that's not in, so you don't have to do it. Okay. And it allows the buyer or the investor in this case to, if they have a situation with their credit and they have challenge credit, it allows you to increase your credit score, repair your credit, and still buy a house. Okay. That's why we do seller financing. Now, you may have higher interest rates sometimes with this because some people who want you to do seller financing, they may want more of a higher interest rate. So they want a more return on their investment. So they take not so many risks. There's a shorter term involved. Usually seller financing is not 30 years when like a mortgage for a bank is usually 15 or 30 years or 20 years or 25 years sometimes. With seller financing, the max I've seen is 10 so far, 15. I've heard of people getting 30-year loans, but it's not a common practice. People usually want their money. Okay. And the payments are not reported to the credit bureau. The payments are not reported to the credit bureau. So that's another thing that could hurt you just a little bit. All right. Now, what's the pros and cons of a seller doing seller financing? That's the easiest. They get to choose the terms. So they're going to tell you, hey, it's kind of like you're borrowing my money. So here's the interest rate I want. Here's the down payment I want. Here's how much I want you to pay on a monthly basis. And they get to spread out their capital gains tax because they're not selling the house right away. They're actually taking a loan. They're actually putting a lien on it. There's no expenses or repairs because they don't have to pay for the expenses. They don't have to pay for the insurance. They don't have to pay for the taxes. They don't have to pay for the user fees. They don't own the house. The homeowner has to pay that. They don't no longer have to pay water bills. So the seller financing, you choose your own terms. You spread out your taxes, your capital gains tax. You also, no expenses and no repairs, no maintenance, but you increase your cash flow. Because you go from, if this is a house that you lived in, you go from getting no money on the house to now you're collecting maybe $1,000 check every month. And it's a clean $1,000 because you don't have to use part of that money to fix anything up or part of that money to be repairs or expenses and pay light bills and gas bills and water bills and taxes and insurance or a mortgage. You don't have to do any of that. And you can make your money back. Actually, people will buy your note. Aha, that's a different one. I had Miss Sabrina Allen, if you guys want to follow her on social media, she's on Instagram, Sabrina Allen. She is one of the best to do it, in my opinion, when it comes to, I say one of the best, not the best, one of the best that I've met that does note buying. And they do it. And it's simple to do. All you're doing is paying off somebody else's note. You become the first or second lien holder. And now instead of you paying Miss Susie, instead of me paying Miss Susie, I'm now paying Joe Schmo down the street. Mhm. Now, what are the cons here? Because there's always pros. If there's pros, there's going to be cons. Cons, you may not get the most desirable buyer. You may not get the most desirable buyer. You must stay compliant with mortgage loan laws, meaning you have to send out statements every month. You have to do all these things. You can't just sit back and say, I'm going to do this. And if they don't pay, you have to foreclose, which is going to cost you some legal fees. All right. All right. Now, some places and opportunities for where you can find seller financing opportunities. They can be tired landlords. Yep, tired landlords. I met one yesterday. He's got 4 properties here in Buffalo. He wants to sell. I don't know if he wants to be rid of them all at once, seeing as how they were bringing him over. They were bringing him almost over. They were bringing him well over almost 8,000 a month. So he might want to get some of that money back. You know what I mean? So he might want to sell it all at once. So you get for sale by owners. Listed. You want to look at the ones that are listed for more than 30 days. Asking higher than market value and as is condition, and they don't want to deal with a real estate agent, unfortunately, from my tribe. They don't want to deal with us. The properties that you see for rent, landlords may want to sell those sometimes. So the location matters. Usually you have a portfolio, or they're having a hard time renting it out. Like if it's been for rent for a while and they can't rent it out, they might be interested in selling. The MLS, the multiple listing service, you have your real estate agent give you a list of homes that are for sale in a certain area that have been on the market for more than 30 days. Look at the price, look at the location, how long has it been on the market. Those are 4 places you can look. There's others, but those are my 4 favorite. Then you always want to know how to approach, when to approach. You have to be careful how you approach. I'm not going to go into detail because if I did, we'd be here forever. Okay, and that's a longer class that I do teach. I do teach that in a longer class inside my cohort, but we don't, to be doing it right now one-on-one with you, mano y mano with you guys, it was not gonna work. Okay, so I will tell you this: never do a sight unseen property if you're going to do seller financing. You definitely want to make sure, one, there's a property there. Two, you also want to make sure that the condition of the property before you put your money down, just like you would with anybody else. Okay. Um, you also want to take pictures before you make offers. Run your numbers. You want to make sure. Remember what I told you guys last week. You always make your money in real estate when you buy, not when you sell. And y'all be thinking I joke about that, but wait till you see this case study. Once you see the case study, you'll be like, oh shoot, yeah, she did. Yeah, you make your money when you purchase, not when you sell. All right. Now, once your offer gets accepted, you're gonna have to, you got your contract with the attorney, then you're going to have to do the title search inspection, recommended but not necessary. You can get a home inspection. Now, a lot of people will fight me on this, but I'm going to tell y'all like this. Get a home inspection. Even if you say no home inspection, still get one so you know what's wrong with the house. Just like you have to get a physical every year, every 5 to 10 years, you should be getting a home inspection for your house to make sure your house is in working order. That's why you see so many dilapidated buildings, distressed houses that are below market value and getting hit up by wholesalers all the time because people aren't taking care of their homes. Just like you need a physical, so does your house. That's how you got to think of a home inspection. You want to make sure your deposit is paid and schedule any contractor estimates that you might want to get done. Then your step four, we're going to go into final inspections, address any concerns, and then you're going to close the deal. Okay. Now, I told you guys before there is required paperwork. Can you do this with a quit deed? Yes, you can. And that's the cheapest way to do it because you can do a quit deed yourself. However, I don't suggest that without a title search. Because if you do a quit deed without a title search, and then once it's transferred to you, any property, any liens, mechanics liens, or regular liens that are on that property become your issue. Say it again. Any liens, mechanical or personal, become your issue. You heard me say this, right? It's your issue at that point. So you are now legally responsible for someone else's debt. Okay, you're going to need a mortgage note. So you need a purchase agreement, a quit deed sometimes, a mortgage note. And in some cases, there's another one that I go into, but it's like I said, this is not one I'm going to tell you today. It's called I use it in mine. It's not something that's used all over and all over God's creation. It's not. My attorney told me I was the first person he knew that used it. So I definitely don't want to get into it if everybody's not using it. Okay. So once this closes, here's what's going to happen. So let me give you the process and a case study on how this happens. Okay. Now, there was a property that I wanted to purchase and I did a seller finance deal on. I wanted to, I think that the seller was offering 125 and I'm paying the 125. I had to I had to give him 3,000 down. And for me giving him 3,000 down, I asked him, I said, if I give you 5,000 down, can we do no interest? Because now it's like he's getting the majority of his interest up front. He said, that's a good deal. Yeah. So now we're doing 5,000 down. I'm paying closing costs and I'm not paying any interest. So now I'm paying a $120,000 loan. I'm paying 1,200 a month. It's a duplex. And guess what? I'm making more than 1,200 a month on it. So I'm cash flowing. I'm gross cash flow is about 800 a month because I get $1,000 per unit. Y'all heard me. So that's how that works out. And so I'm going to cash flow $800 a month. The landlord, the owner, the seller is going to cash flow 1,200 a month. And it's going to take me, because y'all know I'm bad at math. Hold on. Here we go. So it's 125. I put 5,000 down so I can have 0% interest. So 120 divided by 1,200. It's going to take me 100 months. So 8 years to pay it off. But guess what? I don't have 8 years. I only have 5. So after the 5th year, I have to either sell this home and pay him his remaining balance or refinance and pay him the remaining balance that I owe. That's how that works. That's what the balloon payment is. And you guys are going to start seeing some really short terminology videos from me on my Instagram and TikTok, and probably Facebook too. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, you're going to start seeing some videos where I'm going to start explaining some of this terminology because you guys hear things and you don't understand it. And you guys are pretending that you understand, and I get it. Nobody wants to ask a question, but you have to be in the know. You have to know the terminology for the industry that you're getting into. Because if I say EMD and you don't know what that is, and I just keep going on and talking and talking and talking, you're like, what? Wait, what is that? It's earnest money deposit. If I say balloon payment, you guys are like, why is it called a balloon payment? Because it, boom, it explodes. It's a balloon payment. It's a payment that's due after a certain period of time. Seller financing. What is it? This video, we're going over exactly what seller financing is. It's not as hard as it looks. It's actually the hardest part about seller financing is negotiating the terms, but it's what it is. All right. So that's it. That's all my little 30-minute lunch and learn. Now, if you want to stay in touch with me, follow me on social media. I am the real estate diva on all of my outlets. On Instagram, we're at the real estate dot diva. On Facebook, the real estate diva. On Instagram, on TikTok, the real estate diva. LinkedIn, Delisa Robinson, the real estate diva. The same all over. If you want to get in on other one-on-one trainings and free trainings and things of like that nature, join our Facebook group, Hammers and Heels. It's the one with the leopard print stiletto and the hammer. And we will get you in there so you can get into that too. Okay? Anytime, any place you guys have any questions whatsoever, of course, I'm just here to answer. You can hit me up. I do have my birthday is coming up, so you guys know I always do specials around my birthday because I love, love, love. It's like my absolute favorite day of the year. So I have 20 days. In 20 days, my birthday is coming up, and I'm going to be going crazy with the deals for the first 5 days of June, June 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which is the Divas Day. I celebrate all month, and my friend Debbie loves to remind me of that. She goes, y'all can celebrate all month like you do. Okay. So in 20 days, the Diva will be getting, well, have another turn around the sun, and I'm going to be doing big things. So if you guys are interested in seller financing, we did wholesaling last week. We did seller financing today. Tomorrow, we will get into lease options because that's another avenue that a lot of people don't use. And it's not because they don't know it exists. They just don't know how to do it. So I'm going to get ready to sign off. Remember what I tell you every time. You can choose to be anything you want in this world. I just hope you choose to be kind. Because at some point in your life, somebody's been kind to you. And it's just pretty cool to pay kindness forward. Not only does it make you a good person, but if we all did it, make the world a much better place. All right, I'm signing off. Like I tell you all the time, if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you. Love and like you a lot. And I will see you mañana. Hasta la bye bye.